So let me just get that out of the way. Okay. So yeah, just any browser. Again, I don't think it works. I haven't noticed that it's worked any better. And I know we have contractors using it with Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, and Safari. So yeah, you really shouldn't have any preference or requirements as far as that goes. But in your browser, you go up to the URL or the address bar and you just type in secure-ecm.com like
Okay.
that, and then press the enter key, and that will bring you to this login page.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll give you your username and password here. But you don't need anything in organization. I actually have it in here, but it can be blank, so you don't need to worry about that. And then your
Okay.
username is just your first name dot last name.
All right.
So it'll be Chelsea.Stewart, like that. And this is not case sensitive, so it can be uppercase, lowercase, or whatever, but your password is case sensitive. And what I would recommend doing is changing your password after you log in the first time, and I'll show you how to do that. But your password to start will be spring with a capital S, so just capital SPRING, and then the year 2019. Okay.
Okay.
So what I would do is the first time you log in is just log in, make sure you can get in okay, and then I'll show you how to change it. But you'll enter that in, and again, that is case sensitive, just a capital S spring 2019, and then the numbers, 2019, and then click the login button. And I think most will let you save your password or that type of thing. So once you do change it, then of course you can save it, that type of thing. And when you get in the first time, or when you're ready to change your password, I should say, you can click up here and just go into the settings. So you click on your little icon or your name up here, click on settings, and then I believe maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Maybe it's in your profile name. Okay, yeah. So you click on my profile, I'm sorry, and then say click here to change your password, and you basically
Okay.
enter your old one and then your new one twice, and then you can change it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. And if you do ever forget your password at the login screen, you might have seen it. There's did you forget your password? You can reset it. So it is tied to your email address. So
Yeah.
if you do ever need to reset it, you can definitely do that.
Okay.
Okay. Then when you're in the DocuScript system, there's really just two main components. There's what's called document trays and searches. And the document trays, if you click on that, you'll see there's a couple of these. You might get some additional ones based on who your team leader is, but this is how you upload documents to your team leader. So you'll see like Emily has a McEnroy basket. It's all based on last names. And then like Sarah Almquist, for example, has a tray, and then there's a few other team leaders. And usually, I think you're actually going to start training with Jody, right? Am I remembering that right?
He's just listed so far Sarah and Emily.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'd have to ask him in again, but yeah.
Okay. So they'll let me know. And so if there's someone else, you'll just get like a McCormick or whoever, it is. But basically, you're going to be creating timesheets and these Word documents, these MRAs or short forms as they call them. And the document tray is really just like a basket, like a shared inbox, if you will, where you can put these documents when you're ready to give them over to the team leader for them to review them or to submit your time card. And basically, you can import into the tray just by clicking this button, and it'll take you to your computer, and you can go to your My Documents or wherever you've got those documents stored. Or you can also drag and drop. So if you do have, again, whether it's a Windows or Mac, you have your Explorer or Finder open, you can go find those documents, and you really just quite simply drag and drop them to upload them, and you'll see it'll do this little progress bar, and then it'll put it into that tray for them to
Okay.
review. Okay, so pretty easy to
Yep.
do that. And then once they've reviewed them, if they have questions, they'll let you know, that type of thing. They'll communicate with you, but ultimately they'll file these for you, so you don't have to worry. You just get them to them; they kind of take care of it from there.
Okay.
Okay. So again, there's a couple of different trays. So you just select the one you want to put it in and then drag and drop it. Or again, you can just use the import button to get it in there. And then,
Okay.
so that's again with kind of with the short forms and the timesheet specifically. If we look from a searching perspective, once you're ready to go acquire cases, and I think typically how they've done this is they'll get a list, like a priority list, and they'll kind of divvy up the work, or they'll email it out to you so that you know who to go look for. But from a claimant name perspective, for
Hmm.
the first couple ones, they'll probably suggest some for you. So you'll kind of get a feel for how that works. But basically, you go out and search for those records. And there's a couple of different file cabinets. There's the K&S, which is actually where the medical records and other case-related documents are stored. There's a training
Okay.
file cabinet, which they might go through with you, as well as a short forms file cabinet. But most, if not all, of the stuff you'll be doing is going to be in this K&S, which is the name of the law firm. It's I think it's King and Spalding or something like that. But this is where most of those records are stored.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll click on searches, and then you can click on this KNS, and you'll see it brings up what we call a search dialog. And so what Docuware is really just kind of like an electronic filing system. And so as the records come in, they store them into the system, and they identify them using these keywords, right? So there's client, which is like the manufacturer of the product or drug. There's the actual drug or device name. There's the claimant name, and this is really probably the most widely used to find them, because you're going to go out there and find a claimant name, by that person's name, and then go search for them, find them, and work on them that way. So this is probably the most commonly used field, is that claimant name field. But then we have other pieces of information, like the date it was scanned into the system, what type of document it was, what the status is of it, whether it's a new one or somebody's acquired it. The contractor name, the date they acquired it, so on and so forth. So you'll see these fields kind of come to life as we use it. But what essentially will happen, Chelsea, is that you'll get a name of a claimant, whether, again, to start, they'll probably give you one, and you're going to go find that claimant and initiate that work on it. You're going to acquire it to work on it and say, this is the one I want. And then you'll go forward, kind of reviewing those. So, for example, I put in a test claimant just for the purposes of kind of testing today, and I just called it a test claimant. But all of the claimants are in by last name, comma, first name. So you'll see if I type the letter A, it'll start giving me a list of all of the claimant names by alphabetical, starting with last name. Oops. Um, starting with A. And as I continue to type, like for example, a test, you'll see it narrows it down. So if you're looking for a test, you start typing it, it'll shorten that list for you. If you're looking for Smith, you type in Smith, you get a big long list, and you put in a comma, and then you start typing in the name of that person, and you'll see it kind of narrows it down. So we're trying to make it easy to find that particular claimant.
Okay.
Okay, so again, I'll use the test claimant here. And so I select that name and then just click the search button, and you'll get a result list of everything for that claimant. And it does vary, as you can imagine, because some cases have lots of records, some have very few, and there's everything in between. So you might get 2 records, you might get 100 records. It just kind of depends. But you'll see here, what you get is, of course, there's or excuse me, over here is the claimant name, the drug and device, the client, and again, as I scroll over here, the different types of documents and when they came into the system. And you'll see here, really importantly, that this has a status of new, and the contractor is blank. So what this indicates is that for this claimant, we have 2 sets of records, and nobody has acquired these yet. So these are up for grabs, basically.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll see as you work through it that we have a process, so we update this so you can see that. But as you scroll over too, you'll see there are Bates numbers. There's a provider name. So where did these come from? Bates numbers are kind of like a numbering system, so that you can keep track of which page you're referring to. And your team leader will go through a lot of this, but just for the purposes of kind of your first look here, we attach this
Yeah.
information so that you can see and refer to a particular page within a document. That's really the concept, right?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So again, you'll be able to see what's going on with it. And again, what they do is because these records can come in at different times, they'll store them as they receive them. So that's why, rather than it be just one giant package of documents, it's all tied to that claimant name, but it's stored kind of as it's received, and from as it's also as it's coming from different hospitals or providers or those kinds of things.
Sure. So
Okay.
yeah, are these records ones that say the lawyers have they narrowed it down at all, or are these just like they request records and we could get anything and everything.
Exactly. Yep. It's
Okay.
kind of, they've requested them and received them, and they're uploading them into the system so that you guys have the ability to review them. But typically, what they do is once they've gotten what they feel is enough records, then they release that list and say, okay, here's a list of 10 or 20 or 50 claimants that are ready for you now to go get. So you don't have to guess, is this one ready? They're kind of gatekeeping that and then uploading them, and giving you the list giving the Sarah and Emily the list once it's ready to be reviewed, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So once you're ready to do this, so again, you'll get a claimant name. You'll go in here and you simply double click on the record to view it. So in this case, you'll see the document. You'll see the number of pages it has, and you can go page by page here to view it. This is kind of a just the same page over and over again. Again, it's just kind of a sample document, so they'll probably look a little bit more interesting. But basically, you're opening it. It's an electronic document, right, with your different pages and that kind of thing, and you can zoom in and zoom out, using these plus or minus buttons to review the records. And when you're ready to acquire it, so typically, again, you'll get this name of the claimant, and what you'll do is you'll say, okay, I want to take this one. I'm ready to take this one. And so what you have up here is an electronic stamp, and it basically is your way to, just like with a paper rubber stamp type of thing, same kind of concept. So you click on the stamp and then on this icon, and then you click on the stamp name, and it attaches that stamp to your mouse. And then you can just drag and find a place here where you want to stamp it. And what that does, and you definitely want to stamp the first page just so that they can see that, but you'll notice here, once you stamp it, it changes the status to acquired for review. It puts your name in the contractor field, and also a date stamps it here, right? So it's twofold. It's like visually on the document, but also indicates it here within the result list here with the data that's attached to it.
Okay.
Okay.
And so you just need to stamp the first page of any document.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Okay. So I stamped the first one, and this is the first document, and it's 12 pages, as you can see up here. And then I'm going to open the second one as well and do the same thing. So you'll come in here and stamp the second one, and then now you'll see it immediately refreshes. And so now it's kind of been marked. You've marked it as yours, right? So somebody else will see, oh, Chelsea's working on that one. So if for some reason somebody tried to get to this one, they would see that you're using it. And if they didn't see it here, then they would open it and see it right front and center on the first page.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And usually they're good about divvying up work, so I don't think you'll be stepping on each other's toes, but it is a clean way to just say, okay, Chelsea's got this one, I'll work on the next one, kind of thing.
Yeah, sounds good.
So that's kind of the idea. So the stamps, again, pretty straightforward. I think once you do it a couple times, not too bad. Again, you've got page navigation, and you'll be able to see which document you're on, because you'll see it's kind of got the gray bar around here, but you'll see that this is page navigation. So I'm going through the different pages of the second document, but you can also, again, double click on any of these to see the original document. But it'll also show you here which document you're on in the list. So you're on document 1 of 2, and then within that document, you've got the individual pages within that document. So you can go through those pages, and you're basically going to be, and again, this will be kind of the second part of the training with your team leader, but you're going through this document, reading what's on there, trying to interpret this stuff, for the handwritten stuff. And,
I hope they don't look
right.
like that.
Well, I think a lot of this stuff now is more text-based, so it won't look quite as chicken scratchy as this one. But yeah. you're just going page by page, reading it and looking for those important events and extracting those, and of course putting those into your MRA, and they'll go through that with you, kind of the second part of the training.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing you can do is there is a hidden toolbar here. And I'll just mention this because some contractors use it and others don't. But if you click on this little down arrow, it'll expand a little toolbar here, and you can resize this. If you grab this middle toolbar here, you can kind of make the viewer bigger or smaller, just depending on what you want to do. But this toolbar, it gives you can turn it on or off. But basically, there are some annotation tools here as well as some display tools. So, for example, there's like a highlighter tool. So if you did want to highlight stuff, again, you don't have to use these, but some of the contractors do use it, especially if they need to come back. And they'll just quickly highlight certain parts of it that maybe if they do need to come back, say, okay, that's where I found this on this page. So you don't have to use it. You can use it, and it's
Hmm.
totally up to you. But the annotations, you can add text notes even, so you can play around with that. If it's helpful, great. If it's not, then again, you don't have to. But then also, of course, zooming in and zooming out, you can rotate the document. So if
Yeah.
it is something that you need to rotate, again, hopefully pretty straightforward, but lets you kind of magnify or rotate and do that image enhancement. If you do use the annotations, then and you want to save them, it doesn't save them by default. So you just click this little save button, and that'll save those annotations on the document for you.
Cool. So question with that, if you do
Yeah.
use these tools and there's, 100 pages or whatever, then is there a quick way to go back and just like pull up your highlighted areas? Will it like, bring up something where it's like, oh, you've highlighted page 2, 10, 20, does that
Yeah,
make sense?
it does. From Unfortunately, it doesn't flag pages for you. I mean, that's definitely come up before because I think it is a good idea. But I think there is this thumbnail view.
Okay.
It's like these little four squares, and I think if you click on that, you can see. Mine weren't very big, but you can kind of see it there. But like if I make these thumbnails bigger, just
You
a
should be
little
able to
bit,
pull out.
you
Yeah.
kind of see. But especially like if you use that, mine were pretty tiny there, but if you do use or even if you just magnify your thumbnails a little bit, that can be an easy way to see, where those parts are, like you're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you click on a particular page, then it'll take you right to that page. So unfortunately, there's not like a bookmark type function, but hopefully with those little thumbnails, you can easily see, yeah, where you've marked up that document and which pages maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Other than that, when you're done, with a record, you can log out of the system. If you want to go back and change your search, you can always do that here. So, but typically, you're going to go through this. Maybe you take a break and come back to it later, or you just power through it, that type of thing. But once you have, so let me just close this here. So let's just say, for example, I'm done working on this one, and I close it, and I come back later. I can always come back again, of course, and I log back into the system a day later, and I can always come back in and go search by that particular claimant name, which is the easiest way to get to just that claimant's records. But you can also then, of course, search by yourself, um,
Oh, yeah.
records that you've looked on. So like the contractor, I want to see everything that I've done. I come in here and I start typing your name and go search. And now, of course, we've only got two, but over time, of course, that list will build. So now you'll be able to search by stuff that you've worked on, by the contractor name, any of the, or excuse me, claimant name, those kinds of things.
Okay.
Okay, so very easy to do that. And then again, when you're done using the system, you can X out or just close the window, or there is a log out button, which is I would say the better way to do it, but it doesn't hurt anything if you just end up closing out. But then you just click the log out button, that takes you out, and you're good to go. So the document tray again is kind of your way of uploading documents to your team leader, the MRAs that you create, those Word documents, and your timesheet, which is the little spreadsheet Excel documents, and then searching in the oops, probably shouldn't have actually logged out there, but oh well. But so really, I guess those two main components, and of course the viewer is for viewing those documents, but you've got your document trays that upload those different documents that you need. Once you open a document, even from the tray, you can view it here in the viewer, but that's kind of like an Adobe Reader, just typical viewer program. And then searching for documents in the electronic filing system by the claimant name to go find them, to work on them, view them, and then using the stamp to kind of mark them as yours, kind of thing. So,
Sure.
yep,
Okay.
yeah.
And someone had recommended Adobe, I think it was maybe Adobe Reader, if that's what, just to help organize everything. You said that was really helpful. So that's people are inputting information from the records into this Adobe and then they upload them to the tray. Does that sound right?
I think they're using Adobe sometimes to view them, and I would ask your team leader about that if you're
Okay.
gonna when you do that next training, kind of what they use, because I know some of them do use Adobe to actually copy and paste text out of here. So I, I don't think I'm as the best person to ask about that because I think they've developed some systems that are the next step, which is of course reviewing these records and kind of pulling that information out. So so
Sure.
that sounds right, but don't quote me on that. I would definitely ask your when you go to that training or do that training with your team leader for sure.
Yep. Sounds
Okay,
good.
cool. But yeah, I think any other questions or is that um, at this point, or what do you think?
No, at this point it looks, pretty user friendly overall.
Excellent.
Is it fine to just email you as questions come up with this software?
Yes, yeah, you can definitely email me. We do also have a help desk, Chelsea. So in those instructions I'll resend to you here, there's a support email address as well as a phone number. You'll get a fast response with either, and actually sometimes I think email is a little bit quicker, to be honest. But that'll be in there as well. So if feel free to contact me with billing questions or other things. But the help desk, if you can't get in or something like that, maybe something a little bit more emergent or time sensitive, then you'll have that as well. And those guys, that's what they're there for, and they'll get back to you really quickly. So I'm definitely available. But if you got more emergent thing, because sometimes I'm definitely not as quick if I've got meetings or other things. So that
Yeah.
contact information will be in that document. So feel free to. I don't want to say don't contact me, but if it is an emergency, please do use the help desk because they'll be Johnny on the spot for you.
Sure. Sounds
Yep.
good.
Yep. So I'll send those right now. But yeah, feel free to reach out and either way, just depending on if it's again if it's more of a billing question, or those types of things, certainly feel free to reach out to me